discuss about two topics. One is acquiring more than one language and the difference between home language and school language. So let's begin. Acquiring language. Language is a cognitive process that truly makes us humans. There is no other species known to date that can ever express infinite ideas with a limited set of symbols like the humans do. Language development begins before birth. Towards the end of pregnancy, a fetus begins to hear sounds and speech coming from outside the mother's body. In particular, soft and melodious female voice or music are preferred, says research. This ability is remarkable in itself. By the end of pre-linguistic language development phase, that is 0 to 12 months, the child begins to produce a series of consonant vowel syllables and may develop utterances such as mama and dada. Slowly they start developing. What makes it even more remarkable is that infants as young as 12 months are reported to have sensitivity to the grammar needs to understand a casual sentence. Linguistic language development period, which falls between 12 to 19 months, is a stage of language development signaled by the emergence of words and symbolic communications. The child is able to respond to familiar requests at this period of time. Nearing 24 months, the child can use around 40 to 50 intelligible words and can follow two-part instructions. Come here and do this. It can do like that. By the age of 2 to 3, the child will have a vocabulary collection of 300 words, and they are able to use them to construct meaningful sentence along with reasonable amount of grammar. And by the age of 3 to 4, the child's vocabulary strength would suddenly jump to more than 800 to 900 words, and this goes on. So all of this happens by mere listening alone. So mostly that too happens at home. That is the power of the child in terms of grasping. Before going any further, let me define language. It is the method of human communication, either spoken or written, consisting of the use of words and in structured and conventional way. One may also define it as a system that consists of symbols, that is words, that stand for a particular object, relationship actions and feelings, and through which we can transmit and understand a large variety of messages. In other words, language is basically a system of communication where sounds or signs convey objects, actions, and ideas. The languages of all human communities have a set of rules which each child learns during the course of growing up. Why we need a language? Language is the key to human lives. Language, as it is a means of forming and storing ideas as reflections of reality and exchanging them in a process of human intercourse. We have achieved all our progress as human beings only through communication. We need language to express our thoughts to one another. We use it in the spoken form, written form, and also as signs and gestures while communicating. By enabling us to communicate, language helps us to interact with people and form in relationship. That is, helps us to relate socially. The ability has made it possible for the growth of civilization to this extent. It plays an important role in development of thinking, concept formation, since it gives a label for a set of objects. Our memory, perception are also influenced by the language which we use. Language is thus seen as a part of human psychology, a particular sort of behavior, that behavior which has its principles, functions that of a communication. These sounds of speeches are deliberately and intentionally uttered, therefore, to be distinguished from the emotional cries which are mechanically and intentionally uttered under the influence of joy, fear, anger, or surprise. Language gives us such kind of power to express what and how we feel. So let me discuss some of the theoretical backgrounds on language development. I'll bring in just two people. First one is Vygotsky. He believes language construction is based on the zone in which the child is exposed to. The more one speaks to the child or allows her to listen and interact, the greater the child grasp of language. He feels humans have no age limit when it comes to learning. But Chomsky challenges the widely agreed principle that language acquisition was mostly a learned process. He said that language is innate, or in other words, we are born with the capacity for language. Every child has instinctive capacity for language, that is language acquisition device, which aids to develop and learn any language. So based on the above, it is quite clear that language is both a biological entity as well as a social entity. From a psychological perspective, personality factors strongly influence learning. Moreover, motivation, attitude, acculturation, sociability factors influence individuals' learning. According to a study carried out by Venica on learning English as a foreign language, two personality factors had the strongest effect on foreign language aptitude. One being openness to experience, which has a positive effect on the learning of a new language, that is English, while extraversion has a negative effect. The reason one might give would be openness to experience personality traits. Persons wants to know more and are willing to take the hard path. They like to know what it is. While extraversion personality enjoys socialization and learning second language or new language requires systematic comprehension of grammar. Note, this has to be viewed in the context of the child. So in the Indian subcontinent, moving on, in the Indian subcontinent, 4 psychological problems students face on learning a foreign language in spite of exposed to proper instructions, which are lack of self-confidence, fear to make a mistake, fear of public speaking, fear to appear ridiculous. So these things really affect the person who wants to learn a new language. This is quite common when we speak about learning or speaking in English. On the positive front, research clearly shows children learn languages quickly when they are young and are trained properly. Now, why should one acquire more than one language? Knowledge is considered power, being the motto of CQ. It truly reflects the importance of knowing. The ability to know or comprehend enhances capabilities of an individual, and language acts as a catalyst. As children learn mother tongue on their own oral form without any formal training in most of the developing countries, there is a necessity to learn another language apart from mother tongue because of 3 common factors which I have identified. First being a very well known and common factor is the need. I need to know English because of its usability and universal reach. The second one being region. Geographical locations at times influence our choice of language. I am surrounded by people speaking Hindi, and when I send my children to school, Hindi is being taught as a main language, right? And it is commonly spoken in the society, so I should know that. The third reason for knowing another language is the religion. Some religions advocate more emphasis on a particular language, for example, Sanskrit, Arabic, Hebrews, and so on. Out of this, the most common reason being the first one, that is need and usability. So knowing multiple languages is a plus in the 21st century. Challenges of learning a new language apart from mother tongue at the primary level in the Indian context. So acquiring a new language is a complex task. Encouraging the child to begin learning in school is a Herculean task. It's artificial. Why do I say that? As this is the first time the child is learning without knowing the purpose of it. The child doesn't know why he or she is at a place called school. For example, when child learns mother tongue, the child realizes on her own that it is needed for expression or communication. But when the child introduces has been introduced to A for apple, the child just follows because every other person in the classroom is doing the same. So some of the other major challenges from the child's point of view being improper teaching strategies. Children are exposed to learning from abstract to concrete or abstract things, which is against Maxim's principle of learning. Both A and apple are abstract for a nursery or a primary school child belonging to India's rural belt. Even with limited vocabulary or no vocabulary capabilities in foreign or new language, the child is forced to listen, reproduce purely by rote memorization. This is followed by introduction of multiple alphabets, letters within a short duration of time. That is, by 3 months or so, 26 English alphabets are introduced. It is again supplemented strongly with written exercises. When I spoke with my daughter's school principal, he proudly said, by first standard, I want every child to write in English using simple sentences. See, no one is really bothered even to think about the capacity, need or interest or boredom of the child. Lack of suitable resources in terms of teaching aids, resources adds to it, apart from the teacher. Because for teacher also it is a foreign language. So the second major factor being the social setup. To make it still worse for the child, this language or second language is not spoken at home or at society level, and the exposure is limited only to child's classroom interactions. Moreover, social stigma attached to not knowing or not studying in English medium school is huge. Let me narrate one such experience. My son is learning Hindi. None of the family members have exposure to this language. When he cannot understand or remember a particular word or a letter taught in class, this inability transforms into fear, leading to self-doubt, and reflects in a behavior of refusal to go to school on the day which has Hindi period. This experience is quite common in many homes. So as a teacher, what should be done or what we have to do is the next big question. Social scientists like Chomsky, Vygotsky, even to a certain extent Piaget strongly advocates introduction of new language at young age. If one can carefully analyze my presentation, the problem highlighted here is not in children, but in methodology and the social cultural context in which new language is forcefully being introduced to them. Before introducing a language, one has to introduce social skills for the child. For example, in France, basic life skills like brushing, bathing, cleaning, washing are discussed in school at the primary level. School functions only for 4 days a week. This is very important as they do not rush things to the child. We need to adapt this style in the Indian context. Syllabus is more of life skill and less of writing and memorization of words at the primary level. Adjustments, socializations are preferred objectives there. When stability is attained at this, then slowly impart the importance of learning language, and then comes rhymes, letters, words and etc. This means individual is comfortable and prepared for learning, and hence transition to language learning becomes intrinsic in the individual. Complete understanding of the child in terms of learner's nature, interest, aptitude, intelligence, motivation levels, learning style, etc. should be assessed before beginning any lesson. In terms of teaching strategies, factors like positive experience for the learner by addressing to individuals' needs, more reflective activities like interactions in the form of storytelling, narrating experiences, sharing feelings. So teachers should focus on concrete experience like what they have seen or observed. Less of homework and more of group work, supporting their curiosity by answering them patiently, collaborative and partnership initiatives. This is possible only when we have more time and limited syllabus. In other words, the objective have to be reframed in the Indian context. Suitable infrastructure and resource should be available for every child learning a language. Judicious use of technology and teaching learning aids. This has been strongly argued by Piaget in his theory on cognitive development. Will support learning or language learning for the primary school children. Equal amount of time should be spent on using a language in the form of listening, speaking, reading in classroom and introduce writing at the higher level. This will give the child more time using language and consolidating what is learned before focusing on the writing part. So this is about acquiring new language. The next one being difference between home language and school language. So home language is mostly mother tongue. Second language or foreign language is taught in schools. Here in home language, learning takes place due to intrinsic need or self-initiative is quite high. Learning language is based on school initiative in terms of school language. In terms of home language, oral forms only involving listening and responding or speaking is given importance. Oral and written form involving listening, speaking, reading and writing are taught in school. Child knows its importance and schemas for language are developed naturally through socialization of the child. Therefore, quick learning and better retention. Child has to be taught about its importance. Learning language is relatively slow because of limited usage and hence takes time to store in memory. Non-formal learning, that is through social interaction, is emphasized. Formal learning through systematic teaching, assessment and feedback are done in school. Cognitive activities like thinking, reasoning happens using this language. Cognitive activities, if one uses it regularly, then may happen in second language. Vocabulary strength is high at the end of primary level itself. Vocabulary strength is high only at high and higher secondary level, and this depends upon the usage of a particular language in school environment. So let me conclude by saying introducing children to multiple languages is a good practice, but it should be coupled with suitable methodology. Unnecessary rush at the very young age, especially writing, should be avoided. In other words, slow and steady wins the race should be the principle of teaching and learning a language. Individual attention and appropriate social structures for using or practicing a new language should be established within the school setup so that children are comfortable. If teachers can provide for this, human brains having unimaginable capabilities can easily grab a new language without any prejudice and with ease, especially at the primary level. Hope it helped in developing new perspectives on language development in children. Thank you for your time.